The discussion time.
It's that time again.
Oh, that jingle.
You did a bit really.
Yep.
Well, he's got it back now. We hijacked it that one time and that's it.
We have got a bit of a cheat sheet again here as last time. We have had to retreat indoors off this one. We have had to retreat indoors for this one. And
Well, this is the
we
thing.
were planning to al fresco again, weren't we?
Well, no, this is the thing we wanted to do. We retreated indoors because where the horrendous weather has been since we've had this nice hot weather.
It's actually set up indoors, it's not raining.
But as I've noticed, that's what I'm saying is now, you think doing up now, sign. But anyway.
We're here now anyway, so we'll crack on. Now, last time we had a discussion of, I think it was 5 cars that European cars
That didn't work in
didn't really work in America. Now, we were going to do the opposite for this one. I've decided to make a little bit of a twist on things though, really, to make it a little bit more interesting, hopefully. So what we've got is 5 cars here, or makes or models, that basically have done well in countries where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to do well.
Oh, right, yeah.
The first one, kind of a bit of a twist on the truth on that, but anyway, because it was kind of intended for there anyway, but we'll go with it, because it's an interesting, very fascinating car and story all the same.
Okay.
The DeLorean DMC-12.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the future. Get your hoverboards out.
Yeah. Now, obviously, built in Belfast, of course.
Yeah.
From, I think, 1981 to 83. Produced in fairly small numbers as well. Now, I think fairly small. The rumour is there's around about 9,080 odd made in total, although production figures for DeLoreans are notoriously sketchy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate on actually how many were made and this, that and the other. Now obviously you think, oh, I was surprised it did so well in America, but really that was where it was designed for.
Well, it always seemed like an American looking car, to be fair.
It was.
Obviously very famous for its looks and its construction and
Back to the Future.
And Back to the Future, of course, not to forget that. Obviously being designed for America, the vast majority of them were left-hand drive, and the lights and everything on them were designed to conform with obviously American regulations, which are pretty strict, of course, and also the emissions and that kind of thing. Although at the time, I believe the emissions, European emissions, were probably stricter than the
Outside California, they were.
Probably,
California did have
Very
incredibly strict because of the small problems.
They still do.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the America, the European emissions regulation at the time, actually, I think, stricter. Now, in terms of right-hand drive DeLoreans,
They'll be a rarity.
incredibly
Hen's
rare.
teeth sort of thing, isn't it, that?
Rumour has, from what I can find, and again, getting details of this is a bit sketchy, so I apologise if I'm wrong. Only 16 were factory made in right-hand drive out of them 90,000.
That is a tiny amount,
I think there were about 30 odd converted after production by DeLorean for evaluation purposes, because obviously they did intend to bring them to markets like in the UK, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and also they did realise there was a need to get some development cars in right-hand drive to see how everything was going to work. And obviously cars that, I think the very few that were sent to the UK were, the lights were changed and everything again to confirm with our regulation. I believe, it wasn't Marquee Park, but a few years ago I did see a right-hand drive DeLorean, incredibly rare cars.
Is there some knocking about though that are true DeLoreans and the replicas?
Well, this is the thing. There are some replicas that are modern build, but built with original parts. Because
right.
I think there's a lot of spare.
the thing was, DeLorean, when they built the factory, they had an anticipated production of something like 20,000 a year. So they stocked it with like 2 years worth of parts. Now, when they went under, they hadn't used all the parts, and some parts were destroyed. But then a guy who was a British man, actually, who now lives in America, bought every single part.
I'm going to say there's a company there.
And he lives in America now. He's had every single part shipped. He has every single part brand new for a DeLorean.
And they say now that in theory you could build a DeLorean.
He does. He builds a brand new DeLorean.
So really, that is some
and
good
sells it.
foresight, isn't it? Because he's holding
Yeah.
everything people need.
He's got all the cards, isn't he? Literally.
He's basically
Yeah.
holding all the cards
Yeah.
for people that have DeLoreans that want parts
Yeah.
or anything.
And not only does he have every single part, he has the ownership of the patents for those parts. He effectively bought what was left of DeLorean,
Yeah.
which was basically patents, designs, spare bits.
I think it's based out in
And
Texas
some cars,
somewhere.
That's some shrewd
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
that, isn't it?
And he now has effectively he's a small volume car manufacturer now. I think the only thing he's had to change is the engines, because they built the engines per car,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they wouldn't actually pass anybody's emissions test these days. So I think there's been a lot of change around the engines, but that's
Were they
it.
like Renault engines or something, or Renault gearboxes or something?
I think it's Renault gearbox. I can't remember what the engine is.
Volvo, it was a Volvo engine, wasn't it? Or the Volvo was involved somewhere, I'm sure it was.
Not sure. Possibly.
But anyway, I'm sure there's always
Someone
experts out there who will be able to tell us.
out there might have one.
Like I said, none of us are experts. But yes, so you think it's surprising, why would that car built in Northern Ireland be so successful in America? But it was, because it was
Do you know what? I think
it
it sort of probably had that quirky twist about it.
So maybe not so much as a surprise in that one, but moving on to number 2. So make and model really on this one. So Rover, an MG, and specifically, we are talking about Rovers, but specifically the MG RV8 and the Mini.
Yeah.
Okay, very popular in. I don't know. Come on, guess where this is. Without looking at it. Let's put this to the test. Where was the RV8 popular, Malcolm? And the Mini, actually. The Rover Mini.
The Mini was actually really popular in Italy.
It was, but that's not what
and in
we're
France.
It was.
But beyond
Where
that-
else? Where else was the Mini popular? There was,
Very
there was a boom for it in the
I
90s.
knew this only because I've looked at the used cars
Germany.
specialist where a lot's come back for sale.
The RV8 and the Mini were both very popular. There's a big boom for them in the 90s. Where was it?
that
I
I'm
know
not sure
where it
of
is.
actually.
It was indeed Japan.
So I've looked at a lot of these used car specialists on YouTube and so on, and all the sales, and they'll have some like Minis, Coopers, and all the lot, and it'll say recently brought back from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It got
Yeah.
imported there, it's brought back, and
Yeah,
they're in absolutely mint condition.
But yes, the RV8 is around about 1,850 odd, I think, produced. And around about 1,500 of them went to Japan, and the rest were sold in the UK. So that gives you an idea of a British sports car that the majority of them were sold in Britain.
But I think it's a beautiful car. It's a
It is.
very
And if you see the
understated car,
interior,
isn't
isn't
it?
it?
Yeah.
Gorgeous, really well made, highly specified. I mean, all the Japanese cars, and possibly the British ones now, came with standard air conditioning, which was
Yeah.
obviously, but you expect that at the time because the Minis did as well. All
Yes,
the
they
Minis
did,
that went
yeah.
to Japan had standard factory air conditioning,
Yeah,
which is
well-
not something you got on a European Mini.
No.
It's just those little fun things, but I loved minis.
And I still do, and I still would.
But they were really,
I'd like one now.
they were really popular in Japan. Japanese obviously were mad from in the 90s, the Minis, and the other play, and Rovers as well. And because there's been a few, obviously they sent the 200 coupe, the R8 coupe to Japan, didn't they, with a few changes.
Do you think it that bit of Britishness?
I think so. I mean, the 200, basically, the Japanese spec ones were basically a 200, but with every single factory option as standard. So you had full, I think you had electric adjustment on the driver's seat, you had full leather, you had factory aircon, and also they all had the third rear brake light at the back,
Yes,
which was
yeah.
requirement for safety, which the European ones didn't have, of course.
Yes, a
Um,
little whiff of Britishness.
and
probably
they all
might
came
turn
back
up
with
on that.
number plates ending. It was FDH. They call them the FDH cars, don't they?
Oh, I didn't know that about the plates.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were around about 1995. And the other place was Spain. Rovers were incredibly popular in Spain and quite popular in Portugal. If anything, our visit there a couple of years ago is anything to go by. Well, certainly back in the day, maybe not so much now, but back in the day, Rovers were everywhere in Spain and very popular. So that's somewhere you might not necessarily expect them to be, but
Yeah, no, I
it
haven't.
certainly was. Now the next one, I haven't actually got any sales figures for it. It's proved extremely tricky to try and track down, but I do know from experience from the past that Morgan Motor Cars
Oh,
Right.
Morgans. Yeah.
produced obviously down in there in Worcestershire, isn't it? Extremely popular for some unknown reason in Germany. They seem to be absolutely crazy about them.
I can't really see no connection there.
No,
at all.
I can't, and I think that's what makes it so surprising.
I can't see a connection between a little car manufacturer, Morgan, and Germany.
I mean, Morgan still use a lot of old traditional manufacturing types as well.
Well, this is it. They're not actually even using any German parts, are there? Anything like something that Germany can connect
There's,
with.
I don't know why, but there's some reason why they just seem to just took off over there. Maybe it's the British, maybe. I mean, obviously we do know that Rovers again.
Well, I could think of a
Rovers.
political joke here, but I won't.
No, Rovers, as Malcolm will tell you, particularly the 75, did very well in Germany,
Yeah,
didn't
did.
it? And you might think, well, why would they want a British car? But then they got the BMWs and Mercedes, but it did reasonably well, and certainly so with the
I
Morgan.
still think this shows as a nation that we still could be churning out some really good cars and selling them abroad.
You only
If
took
we
the
really
Range
thought
Rovers
about
for
it.
days.
Yeah, the problem, I mean, it's a complete other discussion for another time, but a lot of the problems, certainly that BMW inherited, were directly a result of British Aerospace.
That's true.
And
It
many of the
is
other
one for
problems-
another time, that.
And other problems were down from the problems of the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, which them are the times that need.
I mean, you need to look at people like Jaguar and Land Rover. Jaguar do reasonably well in America. I don't think they've always done as well as they'd like. But anyway, going back to Morgan, I think that's got us all baffled, really. But I do.
That's what's actually thrown us with this. Morgan and Germany. I still can't find no
No,
connection.
I can't.
But yes, I remember hearing a few years ago how popular they were there. And there is a lot of Morgan. There's
Still making out for the cars with trees.
Yeah.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Maybe that's what's got the Germans in such a high claim. I don't know.
It's green.
Is it the fascination of how they're made?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you can't.
If there's anyone out
German-
there that can tell us, please enlighten us, because I'd love to know a connection.
Number 4, got a car that's been extremely popular over here, Dacia. And we haven't mentioned this on Overdrive before. Now you might think, well, hang on, that's not a surprise because they're owned by Renault and they're sold through Renault garages.
Yeah.
But it might not necessarily be the benefit that you realise, because in 2012, certainly the UK lineup, Renault's range was pretty much chopped in half due to falling sales and all that. We lost the Laguna.
Yep.
We lost the Kangoo sort of car version. You can still buy the van.
Yeah.
We lost the Modus, and very, very nearly lost the Megane as well. That survived by the.
That's to be one of their flagship cars, really.
So yes, Renault were particularly in a good position back then, and right at the end of 2012, and I know because the first Dacia I saw was in December 2012 in the flesh. They launched the brand. Now, this was never sold in the UK before. It could have completely flopped. It could have people, I don't know why, and gone and bought some else.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, maybe it's because they're super low priced, good value for money. People didn't care, and they sold like hotcakes.
I still do.
And they still do. And up until the figures have got up to 2017, so even they're a couple of years old. Even so, they still sold over 100,000 cars in this country in 4 years.
Those will be all pre-facelifts as
Don't
well.
you think that's a bit like when your Hyundai and your Kia first started out?
Yeah.
They were
Kia
basically,
Pride.
But they,
yeah, I mean,
the
the Kia
different-
Pride, just a little shoebox on
Hyundai
wheels.
Pony.
Yeah, and really there
but the difference was they were slow burners.
was.
Dacia, as soon as it
Or
hit,
they just bunged onto the market and that's it straight
and
away.
that's it.
haven't
And
they?
they sold like hotcakes. Like I say, up to 2017, over 100,000 cars sold in this.
But do you think, and I'll say Dacia here, it's just the way people pronounce it, but don't you think, will they catch up to the same sort of speed as, let's say, Kia? Because look at where Kia are now.
Yeah. Because if you look at the new Duster, I mean, the old Duster and the new Duster, from afar, look very similar. When you get it close, the old Duster has its rear windows inset. The new Duster has them flush with the body panel.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more of the new Duster than I am of the old.
Yeah.
And that only got launched, end of last year. So it's not
the
even been on the
latest one,
market.
yeah.
A full year.
A full
hasn't it?
year
No.
yet. And I'd say at the minute, for the ratio that I see these things, you're talking about 4-1.
So it is a good progression, isn't it? It is growing now.
But I can kind of get why I mean, obviously we know there's things like the Sandero based on an old Clio and still
Underpinnings and everything.
it's been
Yeah,
refreshed a couple of
yeah.
years ago, but it's still, you know, it doesn't seem to bother anybody.
Well, isn't that? I don't know. Isn't that?
But then again, the Clio
The
is
old
a
Clio
really
was
good
good.
car.
It was.
Yeah, it didn't bother anybody, and it's a bit like, I'm going to be controversial here, but it's a bit like the new Supra being based on a BMW. And the problem with that is, I mean, there's worse cars to be based upon, isn't there? I kind of get it.
It could be a Lada Samara underneath.
I can
Really
kind of
not-
get it. It's not,
Yeah.
in a lot of people's eyes, a proper Supra, and that's, you know. But yeah,
I can see your point about Dacia.
it's caught the imagination. I mean, like I say, the Hyundai people like that used to be Britain's budget brand. 2012, the Sandero was facelifted quite heavily. So they obviously Renault decided, well, we may as well just wait till that happened and then launch that car, which is what they did.
I think today it's a massive market to try and get into for any car company, really.
Yeah.
But they've certainly captured the imagination of the British people and sold like hotcakes, don't they, really? And you can see why. There's a lot of people out there who don't want a car full of gadgets. They just want a
they
basic
just want to know
transport,
frills car, yeah.
which is pretty unusual in this country. You can walk into a garage and walk out with a brand new car with a 3-year warranty for much less than £10,000. And for some people, quite frankly, that's all.
Without
that
even having to steal it.
Last one. Well, it's been pretty well documented in the past, I suppose. Mercedes, how popular it is in sort of Africa and South Africa.
Well, we experienced this, and we may as well mention it. Obviously, Top Gear touched on this when they went to Africa. The Botswana one went, and there was basically for the Merc they had there was looking for some spare parts, and it didn't matter which corner they turned on the street or wherever they went. Somebody would say, "Come here," and they had a door, they had a tailgate, they had the bumper, they had everything. You could basically rebuild a Merc, and
you think, why was Mercedes thousands and thousands of miles away from its homeland?
Yeah.
So popular.
But a German car firm with that certain car, I just don't get how they all took to it.
Well, the thing is,
What was the appeal?
I don't necessarily think. I mean, I think if in this, say in Europe, places like that, Mercedes' appeal is its image. It's quality, but it's image.
The thing is, you're not talking about a car that's gone to a country purely because it's sold like mad, because
In the image.
parts are easy to get, because there
The
wasn't.
car, I don't think it's sold in Africa and places like that because of its image.
Reliability,
It's sold
yeah.
because of its reliability,
Built like
its
tanks,
strength.
they just running on the road. Yeah.
I don't think they probably gave a stuff about the badge. I think it was the fact the car started every time you started it. It went wherever you put it. It never broke down.
So many must have gone there for them to accumulate so many parts. But you saw
durable
they used
they
as
are.
everything, didn't you? Taxis, places, the lot, didn't they? Whatever they could find a function for a Merc, they had it.
They've been converted into ambulances.
That's it, that was
everything.
everything,
It was crazy. And I suppose the Top Gear episode just proves that.
Well, they did. That's what
it
I
was.
was basically referring to on that. I mean, it just showed that you get a part for a Merc anywhere in that country.
Just so tough. Just so.
But when you
durable.
think as well, they also had things like they had a Subaru, and you'd think, well, something like that's so very tough and a lot as well. But you didn't see a flood of Subaru.
Oh, on the other one, the other Africa one,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah.
You'd
But then
expect
again-
things like that, but no. So I still think there was an appeal with the actual car as well. There must have been.
But yeah, I think.
But if you actually look at it as well, if you actually look at it as well, the older type, so about the same generation as the one we looked at before, the
Yeah.
300D.
Yes, exactly.
That sort of generation
Yeah.
and before,
Yeah.
and around that sort of area. So those were the cars that were built for, being bomb-proof and stuff like that.
Yeah,
They-
basically
they-
tanks, weren't they? Yeah.
I wouldn't probably expect a modern day Mercedes to last as well.
Oh no, you would never find,
And I
let's
don't-
say, years down the line.
And I don't necessarily think it's because it was built less badly, but I think modern cars are so full of electronics. They're so reliant on electronics. That's what I think would be the downside.
There would have been a much more simpler car then that they could put
Probably
this
just as
and work
strong.
on and do all sorts.
But they're just so. Whereas look at the Mercedes that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, goes 300D.
Perfect example, isn't it?
pretty much entirely operated off vacuum, wasn't it? It was very few parts on it were actually electronic, and I think that's
that's one of the things that helps.
Why it lasts so long.
Yeah.
You track down the pipe that's leaking, you replace it or you fix it, and that's it. Your car's back.
No wires, no electrics faffing about or anything like that. No.
I'm sorry, but if it's not electronic, it's not going to go wrong in the same way.
No.
And this is why the cars have got such a reputation for durability. And
why used to say that.
Yeah, why they're so popular in places like Africa, where the roads aren't always that good. You know, the infrastructure isn't always as I suppose strong as it is in the place. And this is why trials like this last so well.